window frame helps you to differentiate between the frame and the window. I mean, there are some proprietary brands. I can think of Velfac, for example, where you get a very nice kind of aluminium window in a timber subframe. So it's good to differentiate those. So don't forget, these classes control the 3D visuals. Now, fittings, joinery, hide, these are the trims. I mean, they work quite nicely indoors, but of course it just gives you a rectangular trim. When you come to detail that, you might want to make it difficult. So again, by using this class, when you come to the viewport, you'll see it, and then you'll draw over it to the profile you want. It might have an extravagant Astra OG or something like that, and then you can turn that class off in the viewport, because you'll redraw the trim in something like detail finishes, or so it's there if you want it. Shutters are in fitting shutters, and you can control the material attributes of that. Sill is in sills. Lintel, structural lintel. Glazing is glazing clear. Transom glazing and louver glazing is frosting. Visibility classes. Now this is curious. Just keep it on the window class. If you do something different, you'll find things disappear when you don't want them to. The sill is in the sill class. I control that visibility by switching sills on and off. The header is something to do with reflected ceiling plans. Now, setting out, I mean, this is my own class. I make it. It's not a dimension. It's a setting out line, right? And it's and you can turn it on or off. It's just a thin red line. Here it is there, right? Okay, so that's for the 2D locus, which gives you, there it is over there, okay, on the centre line of the jamb. You can show the hinge marker. Always use a class for it so you can control it. Here I got a class called Windows Dotted. Use hinge marker attributes. ID tag, we'll come to that a bit later. Basically it makes a tag, and you want it in 3D, as you've seen. It's a little bit fiddly, probably don't have a bubble, but this is important. So as the window size changes, you need to be able to adjust the horizontal and vertical offset so that the tag remains in the center of the window, otherwise it'll drift off. Probably don't have a leader. Corner window, well, you can play around with that, it's great fun. Jamb and sash, so nominally 38mm thing. You saw it just changed the jamb depth earlier. The jamb extension, you can play around with that. It basically gives an extension to the jamb like a lining, but you can't control it as a separate class, so it's going to look exactly the same as the window frame. Sash width, glass offset 0, glazing thickness, this is important. For some curious reason, Vectorworks default is 1.27mm. There's a lot of parameters here. We'll come to sill in a minute. Yeah, you can make louver glazing, we'll show you that. And then you get a transom light. Oh, actually, that should be the same as the jamb and the sash, shouldn't it? Okay, and again, oh, we go, look, glazing thickness, for heaven's sake, it's going to be the same, right? Although in fact this drawing, we're not having a transom. If you click that, which is one of the things that appears in the sidebar, I think you can just see it here, top shape transom. So if you have a transom, you got it to be, well, you want to be in control of the mullions and so forth. Mullions are basically, they call them mullions, what they mean is glazing bars. They're not mullions, and neither are muntins. It's an American nomenclature which has its limitations. Trim, you can have a trim, it's going to be a rectangle whatever you do. There it is. Okay, you see, it's just draw me a rectangular trim. All right, I'm not going to bother with those. I don't. I have used them with doors, and they do give a sort of a bit of class to the model. To see the trim, I would use them in the doors, interior and exterior, certainly for internal doors, very useful. Lintel, okay, well the lintel is what it says on the tin. It's got some odd parameters. Again, you'll have to play around with it, otherwise you'll see the lintel poking through the wall. And basically you want it to be 150 thick. We'll look at an example of that. Muntins, they don't mean muntins. Yes, they mean bars. and you can put those into the top and bottom sash, and you get bars. You get glazing bars, right? There you go. Okay, and you can control that and all the rest of it. Interior shutters, well, yeah, these are great fun, especially for I think, like the Georgians had in the 18th century, and they put shutters in to keep you warm. If only we did this in the age of climate change and control of carbon emissions. I mean, my grandmother always had thick curtains. It's not like that anymore. Unfortunately, we have this, culture of just burning petrol, and or heating oil or whatever it is. So do put shutters. I mean, you'll wonder why in France and throughout Europe, particularly in France, I discovered recently. I mean, it was the law. You had to have shutters, otherwise your building insurance was invalid. Because when the mob come and throw a brick through your window, um, you're not going to get your insurance unless you have exterior shutters, and it's still to this day. I mean, there are other reasons, perhaps in the Mediterranean countries, to keep minimise solar gain, and in northern climates keep the heat in at night. But anyway, enough of that. You'll have some fun. You can choose a symbol. We'll come to where these things live. Basically, there are some here. You can make your own. You need to find the folder in which that is, which is in a default library. You'll find it through your resource browser in Vectorworks default. Centerline marker. Oh yeah, okay. So this is I use this class setting out. It's that red line, right? I use class attributes and I have a centerline marker so that you can see it. It's often very useful. And we talked about interior and exterior wall details. We've talked about classes. Energoth, I haven't used, to be honest, but you can figure it out if you want. Yeah, we've got triple glazing, low E krypton filled, and then data. So here we are. Manufacturer was Munster Joinery. It's a firm in Ireland. Passive view PVC accessories. Blah 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 blah. Now, okay, great. Okay, so that's it. Okay, that's my one window. You could, if you want to transfer those properties, you could use the eyedropper preferences tool. But plug in parameters, it's going to change the size and it's going to change everything. So by far and away the most beautiful way of making this window transferable to all other windows is to make it into a style. We'll go through these it'll walk you through the parameters, okay, of which you want to be in that style. Crucially, you don't want them to all be the same size, right? You want to still be able to adjust the height, the size, the elevation in the wall, and various other things. So we'll just do that, okay? We can do it from here, okay? Right, there we are. Whoops. Okay, it's asking me where I want to keep this little script. Well, I'm going to put it with Windows, right? Here we go. Okay, so generally, the window shape, the top shape, yes. Even the fact that it's a casement, but the size reference. But I don't want the height or the width or the elevation in the wall to be fixed in this style, right? I'm going to name it. We'll call it Wind ANH. Even the type of sash, I want to be able to control that. I could turn it into a fixed light, right, without having to mess about with all the other parameters and make it go through a whole bloody process again. Excuse my French. And even the operation, I might want to add a transom, So there are things when you create this style. Please, be aware. The style does not mean all parameters are fixed. You can adjust this to still have control over them. But the virtue is that all the classes will be fixed. You don't have to go through this laborious process of of changing those. The 3D visualization, yeah, we'll keep all of that the same. Okay. The ID tag, now you'll need to be able to adjust its horizontal and vertical offset if you change the window size. Include on schedule, probably yes, if you want all the windows on the schedule. Corner window, unclick that because you might possibly want to make this style into a corner window. Okay, jam and sash, use all depth. I think everything here we want by style. The sill, yes, you want it. You want that to be fixed. Basically, it's the same type of sill for the whole job. In this case, precast concrete with a throated drip. Louvers, would you ever want to make them into louvers? Well, you might. You could put the louvers in the transom, or you can put the louvers in the sash. And the louver type would be this jalousie thing. And okay, there are some settings for that. Actually, having said that, it's not going to happen. Not with this triple glazing. You're not going to have that. Transom, depth, blah, 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 blah. So if you choose to have a transom, you might choose to have muntins. In this case, it's a pretty modern... no, again, because it's triple glazed, if they were, they're only going to be stuck on, aren't they? Little ghastly plastic glazing beads stuck onto the triple glazing. So no. Trim, no. Lintel, yes. You can play around with this. Muntins, you're not going to have those. That's just basically they mean glazing parts. Interior or exterior shutters will have exterior shutters. If you want to get rid of the visibility, because they're in the class fittings shutters, you can always turn them off, right? So we'll have the centerline marker, absolutely. Interior, exterior, wall detail, classes, yeah, we're going. They're all the same. I mean, this is the boring part. If you fiddle about and change all this, it is a real. And then, okay, it's all coming from the same joinery factory. Masonry rough opening. No, because it's automatically changed them. That's good, because I have said that the rough opening might change. So basically the variables here are only the size and the sash operation. Okay, so that's great. Ping. And now I've got style window ANH, right? So let's go along to my other window here, which is unstyled. Replace with a style. Window ANH. Okay. It's changed a little bit. Just the offset in the wall, but importantly, you'll see now it too is showing the plan graphics in 2D for the internal and external wall return. It looks like a cap. Okay. And I suppose that skirting I was talking about is in a layer called finishes skirt tile. Yeah, so no, you see, if it goes away, it just looks a bit funny, doesn't it? Anyway, so that's a drawback. What would I do? I mean, I would just use a wall style that doesn't have a skirting. Maybe I was just trying to be too clever with that. Although it's nice to see it, and it's often left off. And I found one way of doing it was to, incorporate it in part of the wall style. And there it is. It does add a sort of completeness to the model. And you can see, it's not returning in 3D.